Hi, May. Stephanie and I are so excited to have you on our show today. We love meeting like-minded people in the health and wellness space who have really explored their passions and dedicated their lives to bettering the lives of others. And we also have really enjoyed the Organifi product line, and we love sharing the products with our listeners and our friends. And we can't wait to dive into your story and to learn more about the brand and what sets it apart from other brands in the space. And so we're just really excited to dive in. But before we do, one thing that we love to ask all of our guests is, what is one of your non-negotiables to start each day?
Thank you. I am so excited to be here and looking forward to this conversation. Love this kickoff question. And one of my non-negotiables is breakfast and coffee with my husband. So we have a really, really strong morning routine that has been, I think, just a foundation to a calm mind and just being in sync together. And so that morning routine is really critical. I get up really early if he's got an early day and vice versa. So just starting off with, my family, but breakfast and coffee with my husband is really key.
That's so nice.
I know. It's really sweet. I love it though.
Yeah. I love, some people say they have their own quiet time, but I love that you have together time. Because that's important, the connection, with your spouse or your partner, your family, whoever.
Both are totally critical. And I find that that connection is just really grounding and, make sure that I really enjoy my coffee. We both are huge coffee enthusiasts. He roasts his own coffee. And so it's like a really big deal in our household. And it's just this like really nice ritual. We have miso soup before we have our coffee, and we have just a really consistent breakfast together. So it's been a nice way to make sure that I'm eating, because sometimes I'll skip meals when I'm stressed or busy. And so it's a really great foundation to have as a default. That's so critical.
Miso soup for breakfast.
Yeah.
Whenever I mention it, it's unusual, but we really enjoy having miso soup. We have some arugula in there in the morning, and we normally do like either chickpea or of course non-GMO soybean. But we do that because we love coffee so much, and because we're both early risers. It's a little bit of adrenal support. So what it does is add a little bit of, whether it's nutrients in the form of minerals and whatnot prior to consuming caffeine. Just for me, it's supportive to offset a little bit of that caffeine on an empty stomach and kind of slow down that morning cup of coffee. So we have that first beforehand. And it's a really nice way to kind of alkalize the body. So it's a great way to get arugula in too.
Yes. I love
arugula.
So good. Yeah.
That's a great tip for all of our coffee drinkers out there though.
Yeah. It's something non-negotiable would definitely be our coffee in our household. Stephen and I don't drink much coffee, but we really enjoy the coffee we drink. So it's just part of our ritual and routine. And so we want to have it, through our lifespan well and treat our adrenals well and not, mitigate any negative effects that caffeine can have. And so one of the things we do that is, I guess, yes, a little unusual.
Yeah, I love it. So May, everyone has a story, and we would love to hear yours in a nutshell, including your health journey, your farm life, and really building this multi-million-dollar nutrition company, Organifi.
Thank you, Stephanie. Yeah, I have a relatively unusual story. My background's in animal science and animal nutrition. I studied that in college, and my first job was in industry, kind of in big ag, actually. I was very much pursuing a career supporting the reduction of antibiotic use in cows, actually. I was working in big dairy, and I was monitoring temperature of cows to dictate early detection of mastitis, pneumonia, you name it. One of the fast correlations we found was certainly what was being fed to the cows had the huge impact. And so it was an application of my nutrition background, but ultimately when cows were eating what they should be eating, which was not a high corn, high acid diet, they didn't have high instance of pneumonia and mastitis and all kinds of kind of overproduction of acid issues in their digestive systems. And, it was kind of a fundamental learning by doing experience for me, recognizing that so much of our food system and kind of the issues that we see in animal health is actually perpetuated by kind of our consumer demands, our consumer wants for low cost commodity food as humans. And so I really shifted focus. I wanted to address more of the root cause of that. And I got into human nutrition, became a personal trainer, started doing health coaching, and just wanted to educate folks on how to put the right foods in their body and how to also, really see the effects of that. And that was kind of my early connection with Drew Canoli, the founder of Organifi. And at the time, we were building a kind of coaching program and a program all about kind of feeding your bodies right and juicing. So it was almost 12 years ago now, we were talking about juicing for vitality, and we're sharing a bunch of recipes and making a lot of online content. We did a huge YouTube channel with videos that were just kind of sharing the personal transformation journey that we saw possible when you give your body the right foods and the amazing vitality you can experience. And that led to the company, our Organifi, what we are talking about today in a lot of ways. The brand about now 9 years ago was kind of the easy solution to remove the obstacle to juicing. It's relatively challenging if either of you have done that. It's
Yes.
I think it's such a great health modality to get high concentration, high nutrients in your body, especially like tons of phytonutrients. We found the fundamentals of organic and high quality vegetables like so critical. And so we wanted to find a way to make that easy. And that's really where we produced the idea of our powdered superfood blends. That what if it could be easy? What if it could be a 30-second experience instead of, chopping and clean up and the 30 to an hour long process that juicing really was, especially when we were teaching juice fasts. People were juicing, 6 times a day. And that's crazy. So we wanted to make
just overwhelming, right?
It is. We wanted to make healthy, easy and enjoyable and delicious, and spent a ton of time on the original formulation, the green juice we came out with, 14 years ago now. And, it was just kind of the fundamental quality standard we started with, which was organic, because when we were buying vegetables and juicing recipes, for our community, we had a huge community that was aiming to get healthier by eating real quality, wonderful quality foods. We wanted to start with that quality standard. And since then, we've just built on it. So, really focus on glyphosate residue free, which is basically just the most common, herbicide used today. And we can definitely chat more about that, but that's a little bit of the accelerated version of my story. I grew up in Northern California, actually on a big organic, not like farm, but it was 40 acres of gardens. Both my parents are biologists, botanists, and horticulturalists. So, the eating well and organic is just how I grew up. I didn't even think it was unusual to be eating majority of my food from the garden I was kind of raised in. So in hindsight and in retrospect, it is like a full circle moment for me to be able to lead this company and to be part of this mission we've been on for 10 years now at Organifi, and something I'm really proud of.
What a great story, Mae. I just love everything you said, and your experiences are unique, but have all, like you said, come together very almost purposeful at the end. We love sharing like on this podcast, just high quality, innovative, easy to use products in this space and aligning with brands. And like you said, one of the things that we love about Organifi is obviously the high quality ingredients and also the convenience. So can you dive in a little bit more? Like you talked about organic, but just what are the quality standards and like your sourcing and really why organic is so important? I mean, you grew up on an organic farm basically and eating that way, but most Americans have not, and even still right now necessarily don't.
Yeah. I'd love to dive into that. And so, I can talk about the first kind of how we build products and how we did in the beginning as well. And it's kind of 3 criteria. First being that we're looking to support a key benefit that we want the product to serve. And we typically find a research-backed, well-studied key ingredient. So we always have kind of this hero ingredient that will hopefully be sharing kind of for the first time with our customer base and our audience and our community. 10 years ago, we were talking about ashwagandha and our green juice, which, we couldn't have known how popular it would become. And I'm so glad it's such a powerful adaptogenic herb. And when I'm talking about adaptogens, we're talking about herbs that are just able to maintain homeostasis and to essentially offset stress in the body or better manage stress in the body. So they're just like superpower herbs, mushrooms, you name it, key ingredients. We love to focus on identifying adaptogens in our blends. And so kind of our first order of business is finding a really powerful adaptogenic herb that supports the key benefit of any product that we're producing and creating. And by the way, our product creation process is very long, but it's worth it, we always say. And so normally we start there. Our second kind of tier is, can we build a synergistic blend of other key ingredients that support that primary benefit? And the example would be for our green juice. When we first launched this product, now what seems like forever ago, but 10 years ago or so, we really looked at ashwagandha is going to reduce the out of balance stress in the body. Ashwagandha has incredible clinical trials and research backing its ability to help balance cortisol in the body. Hormones and whatnot are absolutely innately good. It's just being able to have them in balance that matters most. And so we wanted to have like a superpower herb in our green juice blend. And we included with that moringa, matcha, chlorella, these like super powered super greens to support with alkalizing the body. And what we were aiming for with this green juice was to offset the stress that a poor diet basically has on the body. Looping back to my story in the animal ag industry and in the dairy industry, as our bodies handle acid, especially like over acidic foods, which is normally non-alkalizing, like non-greens, everything except vegetables and healthy foods, we tend to experience also some form of acidosis. We experience the body having to mitigate that higher form of acid in the body and balance our pH. We do that naturally, and we have incredible bodies that are like magical machines to help support that. This is one of the benefits of why we can maintain our health by including leafy greens and alkalizing foods, like so many of those key ingredients. So our green juice is really addressing actually the stress that a poor diet puts on the body. So we wanted to, one, support directly the cortisol balance in the body as it helps with weight management and experiencing easy, effortless healthiness, you could say. And then the other ingredients that we added to that were really focused on maintaining that ability to stay alkalized, and that alkaline state in the body and just basically pH balance is what helps us then kind of do everything else that our body needs to do, whether that's, produce energy or metabolize food or proper digestion or great sleep. Like we're doing all kinds of stuff, right? And so it felt like a really foundational, supportive, synergistic blend when we made that green juice. Now, the quality standards and kind of part 3 of this. So first is key ingredient. Second is synergistic additional blend that helps get the benefit of that product. The third part would be the quality standards. And so when we were making these juicing recipes and choosing organic, we were really promoting the clean 15 and the dirty dozen, which is like, hey, as much as you can and most affordably, try to prioritize quality. One, your body has less chemicals to have to deal with as you're including foods that are certified organic. And 2, it's also helping the future of soil in the world. So as we're promoting organic agriculture, it's also a way of maintaining food quality for a long time, the sustainability of how we eat by maintaining our soil and by rotating crops and not also acidifying the soil by overusing chemicals when we try to grow food. So it was a really kind of more holistic approach that we started with, but mainly because you were bringing in high concentrations of food into your body when you were juice fasting, and same with powdered, supplements. You're in many ways concentrating, you'll see mushroom concentrations like 4 to 10 or whatever it is, 8 to 8 or 1 to 8. It's really important to recognize those are concentrated. And so the quality of that thing, in the perspective of you're getting a concentrated benefit, you're also getting a concentrated dose of whatever isn't beneficial in that ingredient. And so importantly, we wanted to have the highest quality as we knew we were concentrating the benefit. You can't maybe juice fast by juicing 8 times a day, but you could have one, easy scoop of green juice and get a ton of benefit from that, likened to juice fasting. So that was kind of the equation we've used from the beginning. And we have around 12 products in our line, and we take that same approach with nearly all of them. There's a couple exceptions with our capsules where we have less than 10 or so ingredients, but we always focus on a small number of high impact ingredients for that reason. So hopefully helpful to run through kind of that three phase approach. The last part, which I didn't mention, was actually taste. So I guess this could be a step 4, but what takes us
the most important, right?
It is. And for, there's a great conversation here on why that's so important, but taste being so key to be, healthy and craveable. We took a lot of time. I think we went through, it's like the Heinz 57. We went through like 52 versions of our original green juice to dial it in. It has natural mint in it and a lot of lemon. So we use whole food ingredients to make it taste delicious. All of our products are similar. I'm just using the green juice as the first example that we can point to easily. But what we also were capitalizing on is we made a lot of horrible juice recipes, like ones that, we could hardly drink in the early days. And we knew that in addition to juicing being really hard, when something tastes bad, like literally bad, which many healthy things do, by the way, they taste bad. It makes it really tough to enjoy being healthy and consuming that multiple times, let alone every day. So, we were in some of my backgrounds in health coaching and nutrition. And a big part of that was like, it's so fundamental to enjoy becoming healthy because there isn't necessarily an end goal that is going to be helpful to you. It's actually going to be enjoying that process. And so we take a lot of time. I can stand behind feeling like we are best in class at taste without sacrificing quality. So we had really strict boundaries for good reason on sugar. We always use monk fruit. We'll play in stevia sometimes, but we're very, very cautious of no more than 3 grams of total sugar, regardless if it's coming from the actual ingredients or not, naturally or not. Like just, hey, more than that, we get into like dessert realm. If we're getting 10 grams of sugar, it's definitely a dessert. So we want to be really mindful of like, hey, let's support blood sugar management. Let's help the community that's already probably dealing with metabolic issues. And let's not cut corners by adding sweeteners, by adding a bunch of artificial, flavors and all this junk that, other companies will typically use to kind of cut that corner of taste. And so it takes us quite some time to dial in taste testing, and half the packages in my house are my R&D team sending me samples, whether we're upgrading current formulations or taste testing new ones. And by the way, I love it, but it's a really important part of this process because healthy gets to be really enjoyable. Otherwise, the likelihood that you will make it a lifelong habit or a lasting habit for meaningful change and impact, results ultimately is very slim.
Well, those were great explanations of your whole, like the way you go about, looking for the key benefit ingredients and the synergistic blends and all of that. And what I'm wondering, so many questions popped in my mind while you were explaining that, but
it was a long answer. Sorry.
No, that's okay. I think the green juice tastes great. And, I love green juice when I'm buying it like from a juicer in the, in
Same.
Out and about or whatever. But like from a powder, I'm always a little bit more skeptical. I have to be honest. I've tasted a lot of really bad ones. And I remember the first time I tried yours, I was like prepared to spit it out. I'm not going to lie. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is so good. But I'm wondering,
your nose.
Yeah. But I'm wondering like how that what you're putting in your green juice is enough. I don't even know how to ask this the right way, but like, how do you know that it's, going to balance the cortisol in the body and it's going to give you the right amount of chlorella and offset your stress and do all the things that so many products claim that they're doing? Like, how do you know you're getting these high ingredients and they're not, I know you pride yourselves on taking heavy metals out and all of this stuff. And I'm just wondering how you can measure that, or do you recommend a person drinks a glass of green juice a day? Can you speak to some of that?
Yeah, just such good questions. And yeah, the most important thing is for us, we do third-party testing on all of our products. So I'll answer that in 2 different ways. One as a consumer, but first as, the CEO of this company. So most importantly, we can guarantee the results based on first the research on that key ingredient, which is why we choose one that has, an amazing amount of research. I will give the caveat that majority of research is done in male populations, and, that there's a ton of caveats we could totally get into for the research, but we'll first do our best to find a key ingredient that's been researched in the specific standardization that we're using. And that is kind of like, if there is one quality standard that I think stands out amongst the rest, it's that one. And so being really mindful that you are getting the right amount of a key ingredient for the benefit that, is not a pharmaceutical, but it is the best researched. And so it takes us some time to even find that. And there's some just really exciting stuff happening in the industry for researching adaptogens and superfoods, so much more than 10, 15 years ago, which is really exciting. So I think we're getting into an even more exciting phase, but it's using the clinical dose, the research dose of that key ingredient in our products that is so key. And in order for us, even as a brand, to confirm this and feel great about it, is we do C of A's, so certificates of analysis, for every single lot. And that is really key. One, you can find those on our website, and anytime as a consumer, then anytime you can and should be able to request those from a company that you're looking at working with. And I think really key as a consumer, make sure they have them as first one thing. So if they send them to you, great. And then probably find a partner and or like use ChatGPT to make sure that you understand how to interpret it, but do a little research for how to interpret it too. So there, kind of a quick explanation of that is there's acceptable ranges for whether it's heavy metals or even bacteria or all kinds of stuff that's normal in our food and regular. There is acceptable ranges, and then there is unacceptable ranges. That is part of the C of A. The other part of that is also just guaranteeing that the amount we said was in the product is in the product. And as a brand, like for us, manufacturing, it's critical, right? We can't guarantee results. We can't guarantee kind of anything, even the quality of our products, unless we have that third-party testing. So while we source the key ingredients and we're working with our, formulation team to make sure we're hand picking these, and we know the farms, we know exactly where all those key ingredients come from, we still take the extra step and ensure that we have C of A's and we have basically third-party testing, ensuring that what we believe is in it. And then our consumers can also have that benefit. But at first, surprisingly, it kind of starts with the business, which is like, hey, we can't really produce this unless we know that what's in it. And I'll give more context too, because I think the different than that would be also not having quality standards that require that. So USDA Organic is a version of third-party testing that also tests the quality of each ingredient that we're receiving. So as a consumer, I really like to lean on those quality standards. One, because I know that requires testing. So, the company can't really get away with untested, unverified ingredients or materials, which is awesome. And there's, many different certifications that you can look for. My favorite is USDA Organic. We also have, again, glyphosate residue free, which is a testing above organic, which is like, hey, we're going to make sure that after the product's finished, we're testing finished goods to ensure that nothing in our product would have glyphosate residue, which again, shouldn't pass USDA Organic, but because of the testing cycle of the crops and kind of the farms that get USDA Organic certified, we go the extra mile to make sure that even the lots that are produced. And why we do that, I'll give you the context. Why we do that is because there is things happening, such as when there's a farm next to maybe our organic sourcing farm that happens to start using pesticides. I want to know. And I want to know that the lots that we're producing, the products that we're producing have been tested to ensure that's not occurring. And if it is, we can, obviously not produce that lot, but flag it for the farm and start working on alternate sourcing and at least help the farmer be aware of that and understand it. And if brands and companies aren't doing, let's say, USDA Organic or glyphosate residue free as a form of validated testing, and they don't have C of A's, it could be because they're also just white labeling a pre-created formula, and they're depending on a third party to have made that formula for them. And that's I think a really key difference and really helpful as a consumer. If I'm looking at, again, I'm a consumer of supplements too, beyond Organifi. We don't make everything yet. And so when I'm, whether it's talking to my mom or a family member or friend who's considering a brand to start consuming, let's say it's just an alternate brand that's making a Shilajit or something, some product that I want to try or an adaptogen that I want to integrate, I will look at their quality standards. And I think it is very helpful to request a C of A. And you can just email their support team and say, hey, I'm looking at trying out, X product. Do you provide or can you provide a C of A? And it's just like, you could say you just write that down if that's easier, but certificate of analysis, what that stands for. And it would also verify the ingredient amounts.
That's super helpful because I try so many different products all the time, and I've heard of third-party testing, but I've never heard of this before. And I want to email every product line I'm using and ask for that.
And based on their response, I think that's very telling too. So if it's easy for them to offer, and even if they're saying, well, we don't have C of A's, but here's our third-party testing, awesome, right? I'd love to look at it and feel great about it. But in today's era of a ton of brands coming out every 2 minutes, and it's so easy to make a product, whether you're white labeling or it's actually something that you've sourced the ingredients of or been at farm level for a brand, the consumer, I think, is at quite a tough spot to discern the difference.
Yeah. Well, thank you for explaining that.
Sure. First, go ahead.
No, I was going to say it was so thorough and very helpful because, even you go to Whole Foods or a co-op, and so you think you're buying something that's high quality, but if it's not organic and it's not third-party tested, then you could be buying just a bunch of chemicals in a powder that you think you're doing something good for your body. And instead you're increasing your toxic load, which is obviously not what we want to be doing. So
no, and you're taking it in that high dose. And so, that's the other consideration is especially a lot of adaptogens, they take consistent daily dosing for, let's say, 30 to 60 to 90 days to really have the felt homeostasis benefit. Like some people feel it right away. So I'll give that caveat and good for them. Some people, depending on kind of where you're starting. So it's highly adaptive depending on the ecosystem that it's going to be supporting. So if your body's really out of balance, like one, you may feel better pretty quickly, but to get the full benefit of that balancing herb and of hopefully the, great supplement that you're taking, you really want to be consistent in giving it time. And there's kind of to your question, Marnie, on, hey, do you recommend a glass a day? The dose in our products is a daily dose. So it is the clinically or research-backed or clinically proven effective dose of that key ingredient is aimed to be a once a day dose of that. If you have more, like adaptogens are not going to be harmful. I think it's really important to consider the difference between stimulants and depressants or anything like that really acts on the system. The difference of an adaptogen or superfood is it acts with the system. So it's going to rebalance where you're out of balance. If you don't need it, it's not necessarily going to cause out of balance experiences. I think there's definitely occurrences, and I will give the caveat that I'm not a medical doctor, and you should definitely talk to your naturopath or doctor before taking any supplement and before, taking on any new dietary change. But that said, it's so important to, just recognize that the risk is very low with whole foods, and in high dose, there's, I'm sure, instances of concern, but if you're taking something once or twice daily, like you're doing okay. It's all like herbs. So I think a really valid thing to consider.
And it's interesting as you're talking about adaptogens and how they keep us in a state of balance. And we had someone on talking about mushroom adaptogens specifically. And it was so interesting. I think Stephanie and I both learned so much. But what we learned from her was like, if they're not sourcing the mushrooms in the proper way and getting I think it was like the full fruiting body extricated from the wood properly and all of this stuff, it's like, what's the point? And so I'm assuming that I know that you have adaptogenic mushrooms in a lot of your products, and I'm assuming that you are using those kinds of mushrooms as well.
It's a huge consideration, and we have a couple key products, stand out being Glow and Pure and Red Juice that all have mushrooms in them. Our future formulations many of them are focused on an adaptogenic mushroom. There's so much great research coming out. And to your point, like such a valid consideration and actually how these things are grown. And in their natural habitat, they're grown on wood. We source all of this. Actually, it's one of the few ingredients we're intentionally sourcing from China, because there is a very specific region in China that we have a company we work with in Canada that actually oversees our entire mushroom sourcing. And it's so key that they are grown in their natural habitat instead of, bags of grain and all kinds of weird stuff that's not their natural habitat. And it's an interesting consideration, I think, as consumers, the same way. And this is like something that I learned obviously in the animal industry and the animal ag industry, and recognizing like when animals are treated as they should be and in their natural habitat and or fed the way that they're naturally designed to be ingesting nutrients, they thrive. And same with our food. So it's a really interesting perspective to consider, like, well, how are the carrots grown? Well, how are the mushrooms happy? I think it's it does play into efficacy to this conversation directly. And I think that's a very comfortable place to start the consideration is, am I getting nutrients or superfoods or adaptogens in the most efficacious format? And interestingly enough, it happens to relate to them, being grown in their most natural habitat. And, I think we've been in this interesting spot of considering what is, how does quality play into nutrition and nutrients? And there's kind of this interplay of science, the specifics of, is an organic vegetable higher quality and more valuable than a non-organic vegetable? And the reality is the consideration is really broad. You're considering if it's an organic vegetable, it's grown in soil that is not totally desiccated from overuse of pesticides and herbicides. And in that, the proper amount of nitrogen and phosphorus and calcium was able to be imparted to that vegetable. And while the calories may be the same of a non-organic, pepper versus a regular pepper, the quality of nutrients has to be different in one way or another. And same as, growing mushrooms correctly. And I'll say correctly, but like in an ideal way. So lots of considerations. And I think, there's really great conversation going on today about food quality and the impacts of that. But at the most fundamental level, I believe it is looking at removing the obstacles to our health. And if we're eating foods that are free of pesticides and chemicals, we will more easily become healthy.
I was just going to say, I love that you're doing all of this for the consumer, because as I'm listening to you talk, it is so overwhelming, all the things you need to think about. Like,
don't worry about
does
it.
Does this have this? And is the soil this way? And the glyphosate and that, like, there's so many things to think about. And I love thinking about it because I'm interested in it, but the average consumer just wants to buy something and know it's healthy. So I love, you can go to Organifi and buy their products and know that they are crossing their T's and dotting their I's and doing everything that they should to make the consumer healthy.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And the convenience of it too, like you said, is really important. And since we're on video here for some of us, you guys, I love these little individual packets because they're so easy. And for those of you traveling, and it's summer right now, so a lot of people are on the go, and that means maybe they're indulging more than normal or just not eating their normal diet. Bring these with you because this is so great to have. I mean, any time of day, right? But like in the morning, this is the green juice. And you just don't have to worry about it. You can feel good. You've done a couple of these a day and you're balancing out some of the other stuff that you may be consuming. But also I think cost is a factor for a lot of people, right? And it is overwhelming, like Marnie just said. And when you go to a store, you don't know what to buy. And, you do get what you pay for. And all of the, the very thorough explanation that you gave for your process does come at a cost. But don't we want to know that what we're putting in our body is helping us, in speaking to the vitality and the longevity? So I just think that was a really good explanation and just something for consumers to be, focused on when they're picking up new products and just reaching for the next thing that pops up on their Instagram feed or a friend that mentions a product. Like, ask these questions.
Yeah. And it is really overwhelming. I'm, like you said, I'm a consumer as well. And so there's, I think, a sliding scale for considering a lot of these things, which is like, if you're not consistently putting healthy things in your body and it's a goal, you can kind of start anywhere to do that. What will matter and what will impact the effectiveness of that and ultimately results and feeling different is quality and is effective doses of the things that you're aiming to put in your body. And I think like this normally dovetails into a super interesting area in just consumer education on what to expect and how to perceive results. And I think this is, more your guys' wheelhouse and talking about healthy living. And what I find fascinating is if we're not clear, this is something that I got a lot of exposure to in health coaching and personal training. If we're not clear what to look for results, and a good example is like weight loss. If we expect to see the scale changing every single day, especially as a woman, we know it doesn't always happen that way. It's something that we need to continue healthy habits for and continue the actions we're taking, the behaviors we're taking to ultimately see results. The weight loss may not look linear. But how it's happening is actually quite diverse, right? Lots of things are changing that will dictate ultimately getting the results you want. So what's more complex now as we look at the supplement industry and taking things like adaptogens that many people have never heard of before and or are just learning about. I think it's so important to have a really clear perspective and first perspective on how your state of health is. So even I always recommend if you're starting a new supplement routine or trying on adaptogens for the first time, do a little check-in, which is like, hey, before I started taking this product, ideally, as you order it, I'd recommend you had a small little journal and you just wrote down, how are my energy levels? How are my, how satisfied am I? I always say super simple, scale of 1 to 5, 5 being, I am so satisfied with my state of health in this area. 1 being it's a disaster, right? My digestion, my energy, my sleep. You could go mood, you could go libido, you can go kind of any area you want to, but I'd start with really simple ones. Sleep, energy, digestion are like my kind of favorite ones. And as I take this product, depending on what benefit I'm hoping to receive from it, maybe you're evaluating sleep too, right? Then does it help after 30 days of consistent use? And so you can make it really focused and really simple. And as a consumer, that's a practice that I consistently am interested in, making easier for myself and people I know, but also for our community is how can we help them be aware of the results they should expect or can expect from any product they're taking? And then how can they also perceive those changes and the improvements really clearly. So for instance, if it's digestion, if, a couple days a week you have an upset stomach, maybe it's daily, maybe every day you're taking antacids. That's definitely something to, address and improve. So if you're taking a supplement or a product to improve that, track it. After 30 days, maybe once a week, check in, add a reminder on your phone, like leverage technology today. My God, right? Let it help you out. Get a reminder on there. Be like, am I still having, acid reflux every day? Or am I not sleeping more than, am I waking up at 3 a.m. every night, a couple nights a week or every night? That is something that I think with clarity, then we can also try, a couple brands that hopefully we're relying on quality standards and knowledge of brand quality and the key ingredient we're hoping to see the benefit of, maybe a great referral. But then you're really tracking if you can see those results and changes and knowing. I think that's kind of the scariest thing is if we're trying a lot of things and we don't use them consistently, we probably don't enjoy taking them and we're not sure if we're seeing results, then we have a full supplement cabinet and no progress.
That was such good advice. That was such a great tip.
Oh, good. I'm so glad.
I'm going to say that. Yeah.
Well, and in that vein, I'm wondering if you can share a story of a customer of yours that has, about that has used a particular product and has come to you and said, oh my gosh, this product changed your life. And
yeah, well, I was just doing a podcast last week. So really relevant with our internal team. We were talking about, we launched a new product, Focus, which is a lion's mane and neurofactor coffee berry product. It's just amazing. I'm super excited about it. But we were talking about Pure, and actually the conversation came up, just a very relevant, very easy example of progress. And it was actually her father was experiencing indigestion, and he was having indigestion almost every day. He was having a hard time sleeping, and he was having just like, it was a little bit of acid reflux, but just like indigestion, just most kind of point blank. And so my coworker had her dad try Pure and just said, hey, Dad, it has apple cider vinegar in it. It has a lot of digestive support in it. And she said, you know what, this might help. I don't know. It wasn't about your sleep, but it may help your digestion. And so he ended up taking it, and she recommended before a meal. So 30 minutes before a meal, that ACV, the apple cider vinegar, really supports hydrochloric acid. So just the necessary digestive kind of fuel for properly digesting food. And literally, not only did his indigestion go away, I used to carry around Tums all the time. And now I'm telling Lisa's story. Sorry, Lisa. He used to carry around Tums all the time. He didn't have to. I think it was after like literally little under 30 days, he no longer had to carry around Tums, and his sleep improved. And so much of his sleep disruption actually was related to indigestion happening. If you're experiencing GERD or acid reflux, like it's very uncomfortable and can keep you awake. So his sleep improved, and he recovered from that just indigestion happening, which is, it was part of the benefit of that product Pure that we've made, which is very much cognitive benefit. It's basically addressing the gut-brain axis. And so it's a product that serves two benefits. It's a hydrating and digestive support, and also cognitive support. So much of the brain performance kind of is supported by proper digestion and gut health.
So it's not a digestive enzyme, just to be clear.
No, it's wild. So it has a digestive component in it to support proper basically gut brain axis function, which is, they say your primary brain today is actually in your gut. And so this product was pretty complex. So we simplified it with our new product release, Focus, which is just the cognitive benefit. But that original blend that we still produce, and it's such a good product, Pure, addresses both. So it has this cognitive benefit, and it has apple cider vinegar, aloe, and a bunch of digestive support. So such a cool experience to just, he was aware of an issue that he was able to take Pure for, and it happened to also resolve the sleep.
That is such a great story. And I wasn't aware of the benefits of that product. I kind of have my go-to that I take on a regular basis of Organifi. And now I'm going to have to incorporate some of these new ones.
It's a really powerful product. Yeah, we wanted to, it's definitely, I feel like it's before its time. So we don't have I feel like a strong kind of education campaign behind it, but it's such a powerful product. Pure. Yeah, it was originally created for mental cognition, knowing that one, dehydration is a huge component of focus, mental continuity, all kinds of stuff, but how much the digestive component of brain function has to be harmonized in order for us to be healthy there. So it's definitely worth trying. It has this really nice, there's no flavors in it, no nothing. It's a really lemon like a really refreshing lemon product. So really nice.
Is it like a shot or is it a powder?
No,
like
it's a powder. Yeah. Just like
It's
the
a
other kind of
powder.
our primary. Yeah. It's a
Okay.
powder. We have it in the stick packs as well, the travel packs, as you mentioned, Stephanie, like this time of year when, yes, the majority of the country is totally traveling a lot more and our routines are shaken up. That's such a good point to mention the travel packs as being a way that definitely when I'm traveling or supporting anyone else for that, I recommend just having your foundation covered and also knowing that you're gonna be under way more stress with just changes, whether it's dietary, which, hopefully you're enjoying travel vacation, dinners or whatever, maybe eating off plan a little bit. You have that support to remain in kind of homeostasis and balance out the off plan eating.
Well, Organifi is clearly like in the space of being innovative and just coming up with new progressive products. Like, how have you continued in this very somewhat crowded space of the supplement industry? How have you continued to be at the forefront and not sacrifice your values and quality? And maybe just touch on, I know you have a couple new products too. So you have the collagen and the magnesium. And what drove you to want to focus on those two products next? And maybe any sneak preview as to what you have in store.
I want to add one more thing to that question. I know it's a long one, but what are your favorite products?
Easy. Okay, this is great. You really teed this up. So first, I'll talk about how we originally made new products and how we do today, because it's a little bit different to your question, which was great. Originally, when we made the green juice, we actually didn't imagine we'd make a bunch of other products. But as we released that product, what we heard is all kinds of results that we didn't actually anticipate from the green juice. So we thought it would help people probably lose weight. Honestly, like that was actually like the key thing was it's a really powerful stress reducing, which is the key, obstacle to weight loss product. And it would help people probably just generally feel better. We knew that if they had more leafy greens and, superfoods in their body, they would feel better. What we heard though, is like first result that people talked most about was, oh my God, my energy levels, or, oh my goodness, I am sleeping like a baby right now, or my skin totally cleared up. I've had cystic acne for X number of years. And so we heard all these very unexpected benefits. And I think it's such a testament to when you improve an area in your health, it has cascading benefits into unexpected areas. So fundamentally so cool. But how that kicked off kind of our product innovation and product, I guess, future from that point now 9-10 years ago was we wanted to make a product that directly addressed energy. And so the next product we made was red juice. And we thought, hey, let's add rhodiola, let's add cordyceps mushrooms in there. Let's add beetroot to increase circulation. So we really just started addressing those additional benefits that customers were coming to us and buying green juice for. And we wanted to get more specific. We wanted to say, hey, if someone's actually having an energy deficit, can we help them directly? And of course, the products go really well together. So it did help to add them to our customers' pantries as well. But, the next product after that was Gold, which was a turmeric rest and recovery sleep product. It's so good. Like such a beautiful evening routine product. Got great lemon balm in there, incredible research behind that product as well. And so we just started addressing these key pain points that in an odd way, we actually heard as benefit from green. And so that took us quite a good distance. You can imagine we made a probiotic and a protein after that. And, we were just starting to address these, people were saying that they're a great research benefit of the ashwagandha and green juice was actually also hunger and cravings. So when we are in high stress and high cortisol or cortisol is out of balance, I'll even say, even artificially low, our hunger cues are really messed up. And so we end up craving odd foods. We end up not being able to control our appetite. We're just out of balance. And so one of the benefits that we saw with green juice with that ashwagandha dose, the 600 milligrams of KSM ashwagandha in there is that, and why it helped the weight loss also is because people were able to balance their hunger. They were able to balance their cravings. And so we wanted to also, lean into that more. And so we made a really incredible plant-based protein powder now 5 or 6 years ago. And so again, great example of kind of where the original SKU family came to life, the original product family came to life and how. And today, really what we're looking ahead at, and Pure is a great example, the product we just talked about for digestion and mental cognitive support. That was definitely reaching out into the future, which is like, hey, we know that there is incredible research coming out about the gut-brain axis that shows that there is such a key relationship between the neurons in the brain and the neurons in our digestive tract, like insane. how can we make a product that supported people naturally being able to support whether it's aging cognition or proactive cognition? It might be like, hyper focus when we're working, as a younger professional, or in my favorite sense. And Marnie, your question, what's some of my favorite products is actually using some of these as like a pre-workout before I go play pickleball or something. So like, I love the advantage that's not a stimulant. I'm not taking a bunch of caffeine in the afternoon because I can't handle it. It's my morning cup of coffee that's so important. So I love leveraging superfoods to optimize my performance, whether it's, as a working CEO or professional or on the pickleball court trying to, beat my mom in pickleball or my coworker, Lisa. Today, now, as we kind of look out in the future, Stephanie, you asked about collagen and magnesium, and those were definitely not innovations to some degree. I'll speak to the ways that they were innovative, but we hesitated making those products because we felt like, hey, that space is really addressed, and we don't know if we need to be there. We think that our customer base is well served, and we're not sure we need to be there. When we surveyed our customer base and asked them what they wanted us to make, they actually wanted us to make those products. So one, they were buying from other brands and they didn't have the trust that they have with us. And there wasn't the testing that they came to depend on with our brand. And so there was actually a huge opportunity to make products that, we weren't imagining was a huge benefit to our audience initially. And we really changed our mind. So both magnesium and collagen were two products that our internal team took all the time. We've taken magnesium, even from the early days of teaching juice fasting. It was like a key supplement we'd recommend while someone was juice fasting, like, hey, take some magnesium. It'll help with one, regularity, but also help with just some really critical minerals that you don't want to miss while you're juice fasting. And so we've always loved magnesium. We just didn't think we'd ever make it. And so it's actually really, for me personally, such a cool experience to get to produce this magnesium. It's a magnesium glycinate, which is actually extra absorbable, but really easy to try. There's so many different forms of magnesium that can incur some digestive upset, maybe a little diarrhea. Yeah. To name a couple of things. And so we really wanted to make one that was highly absorbable and universally beneficial for people to begin with, to have magnesium become a staple supplement in someone's kind of lifestyle and diet. So we chose that strand or that kind of version of magnesium specifically for that reason. And similar with collagen, we wanted to have glyphosate residue free on that product. And we also wanted to really focus on just the quality standards of the 4 sources of protein that we were actually getting animal-based, but what we were getting that collagen from. And there's been a lot of talk around quality of and just kind of sustainability of the collagen industry. And so it made a lot of sense from a brand stance to begin to support a sustainable and as much as possible, the healthiest version of this product that we could make. I think in a couple of weeks, I have a conversation coming up about actually the sustainability of sourcing collagen. And, it's really specific in how we source and why we source from those 4. We have like it's fish. It's actually 2 forms of fish, chicken and beef, and kind of why we do that. And being very specific on the sourcing, the same way that we've been with all of our product line, felt really good. And as someone that has taken collagen for years and magnesium for years, it was that same sense of, kind of reassurance that I knew the quality, and I couldn't quite lean on that from the sources that I was kind of doing my best, but I wasn't positive. And so it felt so good to, one, serve our community after they directly asked us, but also serve our team and myself.
That's awesome. And I love, like we've been saying all along, I love all the thought and testing and your dedication to quality that you're putting into these products. And one question I have specifically about collagen. So I've gone down the rabbit hole of collagen recently because I've been taking it, and I landed on a powder form, not a liquid form. I've heard mixed things about both, but even more recently, I'm hearing that if you're taking chlorella and spirulina, you don't need to take collagen. I'm just curious on what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah, well, and I'll thank you. Like, such good questions. I'm equally plugged into and interested in the research coming out as well. And case in point, 2 years ago, we made Glow, which was a collagen booster that was all plant-based. And it was focused on actually an adaptogenic mushroom, tremella, and really kind of like, instead of saying, hey, let's supplement with something directly that we need, let's actually support our bodies producing that thing naturally. And so to your point, Marnie, I think there's a lot of room to consider in supplementation how you're actually naturally supporting your body doing those things beyond just ingesting the thing that you want. For instance, if you're looking to get more protein, supplementing it is great, but also consider the ways in which protein, maybe the additional needs that protein has, like vitamin C, to be effective in your body, and all kinds of, I think, factors. And so as you look at collagen, I think it's very worthwhile to consider, are you currently supplementing with chlorella and moringa or, spirulina, like you're talking about, those two in particular that have, I think, some really great research on even the marine-based collagen, coming from that. So I think it's well worth the time to consider what's your current diet and what's your supplementing need. If, like, for instance, my reason for supplementing with collagen is I am highly active. So I play a lot of pickleball, and recovery is really important to me. So I definitely don't have time for not feeling good the day after like a 3 or 4 hour tournament or something. So I really want to amplify my recovery. I'm also out in the sun a ton. So I love to be outside. I'm like a solar powered human being. And because of that, I really want to offset the natural process of just aging that's going to happen with my skin. So I'm going to do my best to supplement relatively proactively. The third, and I think relevant to a lot of women today, is I'm cautious of not getting enough protein, or I'm not cautious, I'm concerned about not getting enough protein in my diet. And that plays right into skin and recovery and bone density and all kinds of things in the body. I won't say bone density, but all kinds of things in the body. And so I think really key across those three factors, I do both, right? Or actually all three. I take Glow, which has the collagen boosting plant-based benefit. I take collagen actually as a supplement as well. And I also take green juice, which has spirulina and chlorella. So I have to say that with the huge caveat that I've got an immense luxury that is not normal to most humans. I run a supplement company. I have access to a lot of superfoods. So my husband and I always joke about this, which is like, if I wasn't here, would we take this many supplements? And we would not. We would not. And so I want to offer that. This is coming from like the laughing context of, you hear someone's morning routine that's like 4 hours long and you're like, that's not for me. So I want to offer that in my supplementation, those are three considerations that I use to decide to also take supplemental collagen. I think as a consumer, considering those three: recovery needs, sun exposure, and just, I would say, skin damage, or whether it's joint or skin or hair damage, and then protein considerations. What is your dietary protein level? So if you're doing great in most of those, don't worry about it. Like literally, don't worry about it. If you're not doing great in any three of those, you might want to consider supplementing with collagen, potentially try to your point, Marnie. If you'd rather and would want to focus on plant-based, then follow the research and, definitely try chlorella and spirulina and see if the results happen. Check your nails, check your hair, check your skin. Do you recover well from exercise when you are doing that? Injury, perhaps. The time I recommended dosing collagen directly to my parents, let's say, was if my dad was recovering from surgery. I'd send him Organifi protein. I'd send him collagen, which I'd buy on Amazon before we created it ourselves, send him that. And I'd send him our Glow, which was our plant-based collagen booster. I was like, Dad, take all these three things every single day for 60 days. Yeah. Don't miss a day. And that's because he was injured. He needed it. Do I believe he'd benefit from taking collagen every day anyways now? Yes. He's, an older guy. So yes, his skin could use the benefit, and he's, we're all aging anyways. So it just depends on, and I think very helpfully, walking the line to not overwhelm consumers. But it all depends on, one, what are your health obstacles or your health goals? One or the other, right? What are the things that you're trying to improve upon or trying to achieve? And then what is practical for you? What does your lifestyle look like? What is practical? Supplementation today and adaptogens and superfoods are such an amazing resource that we get to tap into. We are, becoming more and more aware of probably like a bunch of ancient wisdom, right? And quantifying it with science, which I think is fascinating, and like, what a cool time we live in. And I can totally relate to the consistent sense of like, there is too much to try, too much to understand, and a lot of information. So as much as possible, try to give yourself the focus and simplification of one health goal at a time, and consider your lifestyle as the thing that can help you decide how serious you want to go after supplementation and adaptogen dosing.
Wow. I feel like we could go on, and I know we have to start to wrap this up. You have been a wealth of knowledge, Mae. Marnie and I both know a lot about supplements, but I feel like I just doubled my knowledge in this short interview, and you've given our listeners so many tips. And I think one of the best ones is take stock of your current situation and where you're feeling a little off, like pick one area that you want to focus on. And then I love just that assessment, picking those 3 areas like your energy and your digestion and your sleep when you start a supplement, because then you can assess, I have so many people that will, say, oh, I was taking it for a while and then I just stopped. I don't know if it was doing any good or not. Yeah. And if you add 5 supplements at once or 5 new products, you're not going to know which one is giving you a benefit, if any. So thank you for all those like really practical tips and suggestions.
And the 30 days of consistent use.
Yes.
Because my mom will take a supplement for one day and be like, I didn't feel a thing. And I'm like,
she's thinking of a stimulant.
Right. And like, you're not going to feel it in one day.
No. It's just like, you're not going to like see new muscles if you go to the gym for one time. I mean, it's just right.
Perfect analogy. One salad will not, help you, will help you, but will not make you lose weight. And the same as like in the gym, perfect analogy, 1 rep of a, set of exercises won't do it. It's actually the consistent, dosing of that exercise that does it. So it's fascinating. And that was a perfect summary. Thank you, Stephanie, so much. And Marnie for the conversation today. I hope that was helpful and in no way overwhelming, but hopefully with a little more education and information and some hopefully good tools that is guiding, our community together to make better choices and feel good about them. I think so interestingly, that mindset and our perception again about results and why we're doing things matters tremendously. So.
Yes. And for all our listeners out there, we want you to go check out all these amazing products. We love them. I love the chocolate gold. I just need to give a shout out to that. My husband loves it. My daughters love it.
So
everyone
good.
that comes over for dinner, I give them a cup after dinner. Like, it's just delicious.
Thank you. Thank you.
But if you go to Organifi.com/livingwell, you will get 20% off. So go check that out because we love the products.
Yes.
Thank you so much. My favorite right now is Harmony, which is our women's hormone product. Absolutely delicious. I see it on your guys' page there at Organifi.com/livingwell. And just a tremendous conversation. Thank you for supporting your audience. It was a treat to get to be in the conversation with both of you. And just thank you for being wonderful partners and looking forward to more of this. And anyway, I'd love to continue the conversation too.
Yes. So Mae, as we wrap up this conversation today, one question we love to ask all of our guests is, what does the art of living well mean to you?
It is adaptive. So, we talked a lot about adaptogens today, which is ironic, but it is adaptive. It is, I'm fascinated by in each kind of decade of my life. And especially, I think I only started looking at this in late 20s and now, mid 30s, but each decade I'm so interested to revamp and or redefine what is healthy for me. Excited by the idea that it is not what it was in the last decade for my life, but it's something new. And I think it is such a motivating, kind of inspiring spot for me to mentally be as I age, as I, go through my life, but also supporting my parents, supporting my older sister, our community. I'm just fascinated by defining that both individually and for others. And living well, I think is just, it ends up really feeling like not being attached to what healthy used to look like, but leaning into defining it and enjoying that, enjoying healthy is kind of this tagline at Organifi that personally has so much meaning to me. And, it's critical at different stages just to enjoy redefining it and leaning in.
I love that. And I think, I love that you said revamping and kind of how each decade is different. I couldn't agree more with that. And as we sign off, I'm like going to go make myself some ice cold green juice before our next conversation because that sounds really good.
And I will say in the summer, especially, I like to add a little splash of like an almond milk or something to it and ice it. And when it's really hot, hopefully it's warm where everyone is. I think the red and the green juice are great for that, for like a refreshing beverage any time of day, but I especially like that red juice in the afternoon. You need a little bit of pick me up, but know that you're not reaching for a caffeinated beverage.
Yeah, it's perfectly adrenal supporting.
I was just going to say, it's also great for teenagers. Like my teenage daughter who's running from one activity to the next will take the powder, the little green juice powder and her ice and water bottle and just like mix it on the go. Yeah. I'm like, yes.
It's tremendous. Yeah. And like such good habits to start early. We have so many families that enjoy it with their entire family, which is pretty unusual. And to your point, Stephanie, adding ice or adding almond milk, we actually have my family will mix all of them together because adaptogens are very effective throughout the day. If you don't, if you're not trying to boost energy midday, you just want the benefit. You can actually mix them together and it makes brown juice, but it's very delicious.
Really? Okay.
So definitely mess around with that.
Red and green together.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
It's very tasty. Yeah. Try it out.
I'll have to try that too.
It's good.
I wouldn't have thought of that on my own. Yeah.
Yeah. I know we always have to remind people, you can mix something oh, really? It's it's okay. They can blend. It's all whole food. I promise. It's like a salad.
Right.
Yeah. Thank you both.
Well,
Such a fun conversation and happy to be a resource in any way. So thank you both.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you so much.